Welcome to another episode of A Brother with Questions. As you can see, I have a guest with me this evening. I'm going to allow him to introduce himself. What are we going to call you this evening, sir?
Today I will be called Micah King, Mr. Micah King, Mr. King,
Mr. King, Mr. Micah
Micah
King.
King.
Micah King.
Yeah.
I got you, brother.
Mhm.
So I am, of course, your host, B. Period. Once again, I appreciate you guys taking the time out to listen to the show. Please like and subscribe to the channel. That always helps us. Remember, we are obviously watching this now on YouTube, but we are also on Facebook. We're on TikTok. We are on Instagram. So go like all of our channels, man. We appreciate that. So tonight, though, we're just going to get into a conversation with Micah King, Mr. Micah King. Get to know who he is, and then, kind of get some conversation going about different things that are passionate to him. And we're just going to flow from there, man. So let's talk, introduce the people. Now, he also has a podcast. So tell the people about the podcast that you do, man.
Actually, I have two podcasts.
Podcast, my
Yes.
bad.
I feel that people definitely have more than one side to themselves. Everybody's not just one way. So that's why I have two different podcasts to express multiple sides of who I am, because there's so many facets to me, and I'm not joking. I really feel that everybody understands that about themselves once you sit on your own sofa, which is a book that I'm writing also, Sitting on My Own Sofa.
Gotcha. So the name of these podcasts?
One of the podcasts is called the Typically Strange Podcast, where we actually have typical conversation from a strange point of view. And that is actually one of the most popular ones that I do. Typically Strange is actually great because, you're going to see today, I have things, I just see it differently than the normal humans see it. And then my other podcast is the Talking Dirty After Dark podcast.
All right.
Which is, the name really just speaks for itself. Because a lot of people, singles and couples, don't really know what they want in the bedroom, and they don't know what their spouse or their partner wants in the bedroom. And for some reason, it's taboo conversation. So on my podcast, we have that conversation of what do singles and couples want in the bedroom.
Okay. All right. Sounds good, brother. Sounds good.
It is all good.
Where do we catch these podcasts at, man?
Again, you can catch them on YouTube. You can catch them on Spotify. You can catch them even on OnlyFans, because Talking Dirty After Dark, it's some dirty after dark. That's what it is.
You got to keep that one private. You can't let the children in on that.
Exactly. Because that ain't for under 21. To be honest with you, because people under 18 ain't doing some things that the people over 21 they want, and they feel like, hey, no, not me, or it's just the immature mindset. But once you get older, it's kind of like, you know what, I do it now that I'm older. That's how it goes.
Okay. All right. Okay, that sounds good. So let's talk a little bit just to kind of help people understand the Talking Dirty After Dark. So you say you started the podcast to help or to facilitate conversations amongst singles, couples that I guess tend to basically think sex or conversation about sex is taboo.
Well, that's actually how it is in America. For some reason, since the start of Playboy, before Playboy, sex has always been a taboo conversation. And in my personal opinion, as a conspiracy theorist, I think it's about population control, that if we don't talk about it, we can always deem it bad, deem it wrong, deem it scary, because it's one of the conversations that you cannot have. People talk about religion, but they're scared to talk about sex. People talk about death, but it's kind of like, no, don't talk about sex. And that's just how it is in a lot of households. And that's why on my podcast, we don't shun from any conversation that society wants to have.
Gotcha. Let me probe a little bit there. So you say that obviously you think sex talk is taboo. So outside of population control, because I think what's interesting there is sex being taboo seems to be consistent throughout the world. Whereas, obviously people love to have sex, obviously, but you don't see, just publicly, you don't see those kind of conversations happening throughout the world.
Yes, you do. Not in American culture.
Which cultures do you feel like?
Let's go to Africa where they butt naked and they just walking around titties free. Let's go to Brazil where they have the exact same. Let's go
But the difference there, though.
No, because Brazil is the slaves that America had, and they left and went to Brazil. That's our culture. We don't have clothing as a culture. Clothing is a money market that say, hey, let me put something on your back. I'm gonna sell it to you. Now I look good. Now fashion is a thing. When we all know Adam and Eve ain't have no clothes at all. Nobody cares about clothes. It's a money marketing scheme.
Yeah,
That's
my
all that
point
it's
to
about.
you though is, you said Africa, right?
Okay.
People in Africa aren't walking around. First of all, most people, especially when you go to the major cities, they're not walking around naked. They're wearing clothes too. So I'm assuming when you talk about walking around naked, you're talking about some of the tribes that
Correct.
exist.
That don't care about the money.
Well,
Hmm.
but two, they're not doing that because of sex. They're doing that because they have a culture where they don't even think about their nakedness, if you will.
Exactly.
But that's not having a conversation about sex. That's
But
having a mindset
exactly.
where clothing is irrelevant to you because for the most part you're thinking about the things that are important in life. You're thinking about surviving. You're thinking about feeding your kids. You're thinking about, maybe the man is thinking about hunting, the woman is thinking about taking care of those kids, feeding her husband or whatever the case may be. That that has nothing to do with their sex life. It
But
has more to do with
okay.
the fact that clothing is irrelevant when I'm trying to survive, and survival
But you're
is more
pinpointing
important.
clothing, and but you're speaking the exact mindset that I'm speaking of. And that's what, instead of pinpointing clothing, you've just actually made my point with the mindset that they have. Because in America, it's a taboo conversation because that's not our mindset. Our mindset over here is different. So we don't even care to talk about it. I was dating this young lady that opened my eyes to it because before she had got married, she had to take a class about sex, about how to please her man. And it was a funny conversation because her teacher was like 74, 75. And she was teaching her 45-degree angles and showing her how to do things doggy style. And in America, we don't have that as a culture. We have sex education that teach you pregnancy, STDs, abortion, don't have sex before marriage, wear condoms, and that's about it. That's all you're really going to learn in America about sex. Other than that,
Well,
you
I
go to
think if
Pornhub, you go to some type of sex site, and that's where you learn everything about sex. You don't have a birds and the bees conversations that they had in the 80s and the 90s. After 2000s, none of those conversations are had. Unless that generation from the 80s and 90s brought it to their children. But the 2000s kids are not having that conversation. They're going to sex sites, and that's where they're learning everything about sex.
I I'm going to disagree with you in the sense that um, so obviously the school is not the place to have those type of conversations, and so the type of talks that you're referring to typically happen in a school environment.
Mhm.
And so I don't think you had that conversation in school.
You shouldn't or they don't.
You shouldn't.
Okay, so what are the facts? That's what I like to speak about.
You shouldn't have this conversation in the school. No, I'm saying like they have like you talked about, using condoms, about getting pregnant, STDs.
Correct.
Those typical kind of general conversations do happen in schools.
Hmm.
But in my personal opinion, the school shouldn't go past that point anyway.
You don't think so?
No, because you have to remember, number one, um, you don't know what those people are going to tell your kid that you didn't want your kid to be exposed to.
Hmm.
And so for that reason, we allow them to go to a certain point, but we want them to stop because as parents, it is our job to decide what it is or how far in that conversation that we want to have with our kids.
Mm.
And so that's where the school stops, and I think the school should always stop there. Plus, because even when you think about what's going on in society right now,
Mm.
there's so many different things being introduced when it comes to gender and sex and so forth. You really want to, as a parent, you really want to monitor that so that you can expose your kid to the things that you want them to be exposed to, and you give them your opinion before they begin to get the opinion of what somebody else has to say.
I
And so
agree.
you want to monitor all of that. But and so as far as parents are concerned, I would agree with you. I think there is a deeper conversation parents could probably have. I
Definitely.
certainly had a conversation with, a birds and bees type of conversation, and kind of left the door open for whatever other conversation you want to have. I mean, that's what I've done. I can't speak to what other parents have done, but I think that's a parental conversation. I don't think it should be left up to other people. And as a part of curiosity, I think at some point, especially when you're talking about, especially young boys, just because their brains are just everywhere, they're going to, go out and search other sources, whether it be some kind of site, whether it be their friend or whomever they want to go to. I think that's going to naturally happen. But again, that's where, as the parent, it's up to you to really build those relationships with your children so that you kind of leave that door open for them that hopefully come to you with some of those questions. If you can't, you can't monitor everything, but you can at least leave the door open for the kid and let them know that there's an opportunity here to talk. But I would never put that in the school system because you just never know where that would go.
I understand. I disagree. I feel like there should be a psychology class and they should be teaching you certain things about the way to think. But I understand. That's why I have two podcasts. The Typically Strange podcast, again, is one of my favorite. Let's talk about that one. Any questions about that one?
Sure. Talk to us. What do we do? What is the goal with Typically Strange?
Typically Strange is just to actually have conversations like this where you agree to disagree. That's the main goal of it, just to let people see a different way of thinking. Because a lot of people are programmed to think one way because of what they see on television or the newscaster or what they hear in music. So Typically Strange really just gives you a different point of
view. Okay. Sounds good. So I know we can find them on YouTube. When should we look for them?
Well, since I'm black, sporadically. That's what it is. See the new one when you catch the new one. Check your feet. It'll be there.
At some point, huh?
Yeah.
At some point.
I got some old ones. Check them out.
Go check out some of the old ones, huh? Okay. All right. That's cool. That's cool. Now I know because in full disclosure, we family. Family for real. So. But so I know that's not all that you do. So is there anything else you want to talk about that you do?
Well, I do acting, I do modeling, I do a lot of different things. I do so much, you know what I'm saying? So, I would take this opportunity to do, talk about it because I don't like to talk about it. Like, I'm not that person that actually likes to gloat and, I did this and I did that. And I really don't like people that do that. Like, I see so many fake people that's really doing it for the gram. Like, and I know them personally and I'd be like, no, bro, you're not doing it like that, dog. But for the gram, boy, it'd be looking good for the gram. And I'm just not that person. And I don't know. It's not in me to be that. So it's kind of hard. It's really hard to talk about and gloat and you know what I'm saying? I don't know why. I don't know why. It's hard. It's even for me, it's hard to write a bio about myself. Like I can write about somebody else easy, but writing about myself is just very difficult for me. I don't know. Have you ever had that issue?
Writing about myself?
Where you stop yourself from doing something because it's you, but you can do it for somebody else like it's nothing.
I guess I've had that experience before. Mm-hmm. I think I could say I'd had that experience before. But that's one of the things, though, that I am working on doing better at. That if I'm going to do something or suggest somebody else to do it, mm-hmm. then trying to also then figure out how to incorporate that same advice in my own life. Because at the end of the day, if it's really great advice, then I probably should be taking it for myself if I'm going to offer it to somebody else. So I've been working on that. That's one of the reasons why, with this particular podcast, one of the things that I've been working on is consistency. Mm. And so for me, I try and drop a new piece of content twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays. Remember that, Monday, Thursday. So try and drop a new piece of content twice a week. And even though, sometimes we're talking 12:30 midnight recordings just to make sure on Wednesday night, just to make sure there's content to drop on Thursday. It's that putting in whatever effort you got to in order to make sure your consistency's there so that you can build up an audience that expects or can expect. Man, Monday here. Oh man, I gotta go find out what B period drop. Thursday here. I gotta go find out what B period drop. And then my other piece, which is just probably the most challenging part of it, because I love the Monday, Thursday piece, but then creating consistent content for Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, of some kind to keep, dropping things to kind of, little something here to remind you, oh yeah, there's that dude B period that he be dropping stuff. So that's that consistency piece. Recently we went down to no down, no, I guess up. We went to no down. Yeah, we went to Miami to the podcast summit, done by David Shands. And
Shout out to David Shands.
Shout out to David Shands, man. He's doing great things. One of the things that I took away from the event was just that consistency, and it's consistency. The interesting thing about that is it's so simplistic, and we all know being consistent is an important aspect of life. But as you begin to do new things, bring in that consistency that you might have done in, I'll say, like acting, right? Bringing that same consistency to podcasting, it makes sense that you should, but it doesn't always translate.
In the beginning, for me, I'm excited to do the new thing. So I'm consistent because it's like, yeah, this is new and I want to do it. So it doesn't get inconsistent for me until I get in my own head and I'm like, is it working? Is what I'm doing worth it? Because even with podcasting, you can get in your car real quick, but in my mind, are they watching? That's when I would start getting inconsistent. But in the beginning, no, I'm excited. Like I can't wait I'm gonna make a whole list of stuff that I'm gonna talk about.
Yeah.
That's just me in the beginning of any new project. I'm excited to get in that project. So I think I'm the opposite.
Okay. But and for a long time that was my problem. Because I've been trying to, or at least contemplating doing a podcast probably a good year before I actually dropped that first episode. And a lot of that was because I was in my head. I was worried about what people were going to say, how it was going to affect what I'm doing over here. And am I going to say the wrong thing? And then people are going to we need to cancel, whatever, you know what I'm saying? And so at some point, I said, you know what, man, whatever. I said, whatever. And randomly one day, we were talking, my wife and I was just like, she said, when you gonna record? When you gonna record? And I was like, you know what? I'm recording tomorrow. and it was just like that, because the one thing that does come easy are thoughts, right? I'm always in my head about something, so I can always find something to talk about, even just by myself for a good 20 minutes. And so that part was easy. It was just the act of getting in front of the camera and then initially caring what people say. But at this point, I'm just like, I'm going to say what I say.
And then that's what it is.
And that's what it is.
Yeah,
and however they feel is how they feel.
I actually got in a situation with a young lady that I was dating, and on my Talking Dirty After Dark podcast, her brothers went on the podcast and was going to her, was like, hey, I heard he said this on the podcast, and he was talking about that on the podcast, and he said that he did this. It was actually funny to me, because I was like, you know what? Wow, this has happened before, but never as close as somebody that I'm dating, their brother, the younger brother. And now the younger brother look at me a certain way because of something he heard on a podcast. And in my mind, it comes with the territory. It is what it is, But that's my look on life. Like, everybody gonna die, oh well. And I think that's a horrible way, but I think it's really the only way, because I think that after I was studying Paul was like, life is void. Like, at the end of the day, it's no point. And that blew my mind for some years, trying to understand what Paul was saying. And now I'm like, what is true? Because in the next, I'm not going to be able to probably do anything to be remembered to where my grandkids are going to know my name. So, enjoy it while I'm here and stop worrying about trying to get some type of something like Andrew Young, or like what was the dude name who got shot in his Achilles in Troy? And I just didn't want my name remembered, and that was always a thing for me. Like his name was Achilles, I think it was, in Troy. And I just want my name remembered, Brad Pitt. And I was like, yeah, I want my name remembered. And then eventually, when I got over that, man, I looked at life so differently now, man. I look at life and be like, your name is never gonna be remembered, dude. And you just happy. You got a bed, you got hot water, you got so many luxuries, dude. Enjoy it and then die. That's what it is. I mean, tell me something different. Other than that, I mean, my granddaddy had a great one, built a lot of, and then he died. My uncle did a lot of great military on the beach, had great stories, boo, and then he died. And then that's what happens. You live a good one, and then that's it. That's it. So that's why it doesn't matter. Like, it matters, but do it matter? Like, in the grand scheme of things.
I
In the
think
grand scheme, does it really matter?
so where it matters,
Mhm.
it doesn't matter so much in the world, right? So that there are, it's a good thing when we can live a life where we can touch people, right? It's because no matter what life you live, and how great it is, how bad it is, or whatever it was, there's always going to be a group of people that you connect with and who are going to take who you were and remember that 20 years from now, right?
Okay.
So I think the thing that we're looking for, we're not necessarily, because even I think, even an MLK, right? Did he live a life where he thought 50 years later people are going to still be talking about me? 50
Yes.
years later, people are going to still be patterning their life around the things that I said.
Yes.
Do I believe? I don't believe in his short life, because he died in his 30s.
Yes.
So I don't think in his 30s he recognized that 50 years after his death, people are going to still be quoting him, and patterning their life after something he said 50 years ago.
I think so.
I think
Selma showed that too, because even in the movie Selma, he was like, "Hold on, we got to wait on the cameras." He knew what he was doing.
But is that
I'm not going to disagree.
Is that a quote, or is that
No,
is that a movie?
It's a movie, but at the same time, I'm patting him on the back and saying he was smart enough to know what he was doing. You can't say he wasn't. No, that man was a genius to know
look at it this
that
way.
I have a dream, and this speech is going to live longer than I live. And I think that he knew that was his. Just like Tupac, my words are going to make me an immortal, and he understood that. And that's what I think. I'm not going to say, do he think? I think 50 years from now, he knew we're not going to fight back. So that 50 years from now, they can see that we ain't what they're saying we are. Like they say in all the mutant movies, in X-Men movies, we got to show them that we're not like them. And we all know that Magneto and Professor X was Martin and Malcolm. And that was Malcolm's thing, because he knew whatever I'm doing right now, in the future, they're going to remember this.
I don't know. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't.
His name wasn't even Malcolm. I mean Martin. Sorry.
But my point is, there's always a level of people you're going to touch, and so even you say you stop caring, and so I think we always stop caring about the outside, and I think, like, for me, it wasn't necessarily that I don't care, per se, what, let's say, my wife says. I'm saying I don't care what random listener 250,000 guy. I don't care what he has to say, in the sense that what he says isn't going to necessarily change my opinion or make me move differently, right? But I am trying to touch in some way, shape, or form those around me, right? My family. I'm trying to leave a legacy for my family, so that there's something about me that they take with them 20 years from now, right? Because my son will probably live 20 years past my death, if you will. So there's something that he's going to be able to take with him beyond that. So you are trying to touch people. It's that you're not necessarily trying to touch, random people who you necessarily haven't come encounter with, or never will, for that matter, come encounter with. But there's always a group of people close to you that you're leaving a legacy for. I mean, that's the importance of children, right? Because you're trying to instill in them something that perhaps you didn't have at their age, so that when they become your age, they now have whatever you may have given them that you had, but then also something that you didn't have that they can develop within them
Why can't you do
to
both?
become better.
Why can't you use your platform to touch those people? Because that's what I have a different relationship with family than I do with people who watch this podcast. And I feel it like as a pastor or a preacher, when I'm going out and speaking in church and preaching versus when I come home. Now it is similar, but it's different. I'm not going to do it the exact same way. So I feel that because I want to touch that 200, 157,000th user. I want to touch you. I want you to feel whatever I'm saying. And I want my children to also, but in a different way, because I need my child to know, hey, this is just television. This is entertainment. This is for different purposes. And you got to understand the difference. So I don't care about certain things in life like, there's a lot of stuff I don't care about. I'm not going to name down that list. But touching so-and-so, I actually care about that. That's why I don't mind saying the things on each podcast, because there's somebody out there that understands what I'm saying and they feel the exact same way. They're going through it. Even on Talking Dirty After Dark, it's so many people that's like, I'm glad somebody's talking about it. Somebody's saying it. Now, typically strange, it's like, you know what? I never thought about it from that way. That's the reaction I get on that one. But I'm Talking Dirty T-Dad. Yeah, on T-Dad, everybody's like, man, I'm glad somebody's saying it.
Okay.
But my children, no. I'm not even going to have the real. I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole. I go down the rabbit hole on Typically Strange. I'm not going down the rabbit hole with my children.
Well, no. You're giving your children the facts and the figures that they need in order to be successful in life.
Right. So that's why I say, but I want to touch 257,000 views. I want to touch you because I'm going down that rabbit hole and I'm trying to get you to unplug. My child, I don't know, I ain't got no kids yet, so I don't know how I would approach that, because we're not gonna do no Easter bunny laying eggs. No bunny rabbits lay eggs. I'm not gonna tell you that. What? The bunny rabbit lays eggs? Where?
You don't tell your kids bunny rabbits lay eggs.
But we go on Easter.
But we go Easter egg hunting.
Oh.
In the spirit of.
In the spirit.
In the spirit of fun.
Oh, in the spirit of fun.
In the spirit of fun. It's Easter obviously is really about, Christ being risen from the dead. In the sense that's the time frame that it happens.
That's not what it's about.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
The time frame was there, and then at some point, again, because of you want to call it marketing, because of a way to exploit opportunities for people.
Mm-hmm.
There was this whole Easter bunny concept that was created as a marketing tool around ultimately what originally was about.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about Easter. It's really about, like I said, Christ being risen from the dead.
Mm-hmm.
So the Easter bunny concept is just a way for essentially to advertise something for kids.
Do you still do the Easter egg stuff?
I mean, I don't go Easter egg hunting. I mean, obviously, because I don't have an elementary school student. But if I had an elementary school student,
you still would.
And there was a church event that had an Easter egg hunting,
you would do it.
Maybe a community event.
You would be right there.
I might go.
Yeah, and that's my problem with it. I understand what you're saying, but that's the problem with it. I know, and I'm gonna still do. I have a big issue with that type of thinking.
Because one of the things you learn as a parent is that there are things you can do with your kid that you can expose them in the appropriate time to what the truth is, but allow them to have fun as a kid. You see what I'm saying? Because the one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to take away the opportunity for your kid to be a kid. Because why you do these things? You do these things for community. You do these things to help your kids understand how to interact with other kids, how to interact and be social with other kids. And so
you would take them to an LGBTQ parade to interact with kids?
No.
So what's the difference? What's the difference in taking them to an LGBTQ plus event and an Easter egg event? What is the difference if they're just interacting and they're doing all the stuff that you're saying? Because it's not like we're telling them this is okay. We're not like we're telling them this is right. It's just an event for fun, right? That's all.
The Easter egg hunt, yeah.
And the LGBTQ plus event is just for fun. For people to interact and mingle and talk. How you doing? Period. That's it. It's a conference. We don't win.
It's
I don't understand that.
you
But
you can't put those two events on the same level.
they're events
Well,
that's based off of.
hold on.
Okay.
So first of all, one event is catered towards adults. That's number one.
The
Um,
event.
the event
You're
is
not
catered
saying that
towards
the
adults.
LGBTQ event is going to be for adults. It could be
It
just
is for adults.
giving away popsicles, and you can't say the event is going to be toward adults. You
It is
don't
for
know.
adults.
It's no event yet.
Maybe the event was organized for their children, but
Okay.
if
A book reading.
whatever the case may be, what I'm saying is they're not the same things, and that you really cannot equate them in the same way.
Okay.
You can't.
I
now,
thought I just
now
did.
you can
Great.
push. You just did. I know what you did. I got what you did. I totally understand what you did, but and I understand what your concept is. You're basically saying if you don't necessarily believe in one and you don't necessarily believe in this, then by default, then they're the same thing. But in reality, they are not the same thing.
Okay.
They're not the equivalent of each other.
In whose reality?
In the reality of
yours.
98% of the adults.
Show me the paperwork. Show me the paperwork and show me these numbers. Where you get these numbers from? You can't just throw no numbers out there on an accountant.
I don't know any adult.
Oh yeah, I do accounting also. I forgot about that.
In the same.
Yeah, you go 98%. Whoa. Romney with these 2%. Yeah. No.
But yeah, I mean that's that thing. Again, those are those sacrifices that you can make for your kids. It's no different than the tooth fairy, right? It's a sacrifice.
But my thing is, once you understand what fairies are, once you understand what fairies are, you wouldn't talk. If you don't know what fairies are and the legend and the myths and the talks of how fairies came to be, and then now how we made it nice, like you say, they infiltrate and you didn't say that, but they come in and they
you accused anybody of infiltrate.
Well, you said what they did with Easter was they had this about this thing and then they came up
it's no
and
different
they changed
than Christmas.
Exactly, but what I'm saying is they do that with everything, and it's an infiltration. But you didn't say infiltrate; you just said it a different way. But what was the point I was saying?
You had to tell me.
I forgot what I was.
I don't know where you be going.
To infiltrate.
Because you like to go left and then right and then left and then right.
The point is the tooth fairy, the fairies. If you don't know where fairies come from, then yeah, you will teach your kids about fairies. If you don't know the truth about Santa Claus, then yeah, you have no issue teaching your kids about that. But once you know, why would you do it? That makes no sense to me. It's like once I know that this is some Satan stuff, I'm not going to teach my kids none of this mess. I'm going to teach them, hey kids, they doing this and it's originally for this, but then it got obstructed, then it got infiltrated. That's just the word I know. It got infiltrated, and now it's not that anymore, so we don't celebrate it. That's the truth. Why would I ever? I'm gonna teach you a lie for 6 years, and then I'm gonna come back and tell you the truth, and then expect my children to trust me. Like I ain't got no kids, so I don't know.
And that's what I was gonna say.
I'll admit that
it'd be very interesting
when I had kids
to see how you move when you have a kid, because again, it's one thing every parent understands. There are sacrifices you make.
That ain't one
that you do for your kids, and I'm not talking about compromising your principles, but there are
that's
things
not compromising a principle. Lying to them about Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny, knowing that ain't got nothing to do with what's really going on.
That would not equate to compromising your principles, but
it's all about. But again, it's all about God. If that's the only reason we're here.
I hear you.
We're only here even to serve God. How is that not?
But even in church, they would at least give kids presents.
Ain't no God in most of these churches, and we know that.
Oh, not in God in church?
I said in most of these churches. don't just say it. Now, in most of these churches, they're pushing an agenda, and if you ain't go to school for it, there was a curriculum guide. You ain't go to theology school, which is a curriculum guide that's written by the same people that killed Jesus, which is odd. Anyway, if you ain't study this curriculum guide, then you can't even get a piece of paper that say, hey, you're qualified to talk about God. Like, stop it. It's all a sham.
I disagree with that.
Okay.
Because, I mean, if we're being honest, especially if we're talking about the Black church, most people in the Black church have never gone to seminary school.
Okay. But they still preach the same message.
And that I don't know, in my personal life, I don't know any ministers who have gone to seminary school or taken theology, and then that is the basis of what they preach.
What is the black church based? Is it Church of God in Christ? Is it Church of God by Faith? What is the black church under?
I mean, it's under all of that, right?
Okay. Does the black church go to church on Saturday or go to church on Sunday?
They do both, right? Depending on if you're Seventh-day Adventist or whether you, any other number.
When is the Sabbath,
churches.
according to the black church?
When is the Sabbath?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really according to the black church. The Sabbath in the Bible was held on Saturday, but again, tradition, we go to church on Sunday.
So whose tradition?
The tradition of church.
So not the tradition of God, the tradition of church. Say less.
Yeah, the tradition of church. Yeah.
So who started that tradition?
Who started the tradition?
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I don't have the history.
And again, this is the whole point of the mindset.
The first person to do church on Sunday.
The reason I ask this is to show the mindset of when I ask about the Easter Bunny, we just gonna go along, play along, get along, go along. When the tradition of even the God that you praise every day and bow down to and give thanks to for life, health, everything. I don't even know why we gonna. It doesn't add up. And that's why.
But here's what I would tell you about church on Sunday.
I know the church on Sundays because of the Catholic Church, the Pope Benedict. I think it was Pope Benedict. I already know the answer, but I asked these people.
But here's my point to you.
It don't matter.
In all sense, right? What difference does it make what day you go to church?
Because God said. And if God said, the church don't get to say nothing else. If God said, go to church on the Sabbath, who are you to say we're going to go to church on the day after?
So, again, I'll say to you,
okay,
there is no less power of God because you go to church on Saturday.
But if God said
going to church on Sunday,
if God said, then why are we not doing? This ain't your mama said. This ain't your brother. If God, the person you're going to church to praise, said go to church on this day, we not gonna do that. We're gonna go to church when we want to and say we still giving you praise though.
Yeah, but you're missing again. I'm gonna go back to there's nothing that says if you go on Sunday you are being blasphemous versus when you go on Saturday.
So if you tell your child not to do something, if you tell your child, hey man, don't go in the refrigerator, and your child be like, all right, I'm gonna go in the freezer, because ain't nothing you said about going in the freezer. You just said don't go in the refrigerator. That doesn't make any sense when, as a parent, I said don't do this, and now you trying to play around me, you trying to play some games. When I basically told you.
But that's my point. Nobody's playing a game. What you're equating is, relevant to, I would say, what some people who they call themselves Seventh-day Adventists adhere to, right?
No, I'm equating to what before you.
No, hold on. What I'm saying is you're legalistic. I think that's a good term. Your legalistic view that you're coming across with is more akin to how a Seventh-day Adventist person would say, right? That's why they won't go to church on Sunday. Okay. But what I'm saying to you is, if you look at the Bible, God does not say anything about going to church on Sunday is blasphemous. Mm-hmm. There's nothing in the Bible that's going to tell you that.
Okay.
So for you to assert that it's blasphemous is a miscommunication and a misunderstanding of what the Bible says, is what I'm trying to say to you.
Okay.
Because there's nothing in the Bible that says don't go on Sunday. That's not in there. That's just not there.
What about
you can't find the
What about the Quran? Or is God only in the book you read?
First of all, no, I don't believe in the Quran.
Okay, and that's the issue.
So I'm not going to go to the Quran.
Okay, but we can go to many other books that say the exact same thing. If you're going to base your God in one book, I understand that. I've studied all of them, and they all speak of what you would understand as the Sabbath being on Sunday. What you need to find out is, why did the Pope change it to Sunday? Instead of defending it, not even understanding why was the change happening.
Here's what I'm saying to you. It's irrelevant.
How is it irrelevant?
It's irrelevant because that has no basis on what you believe, right?
Okay.
So just because, let's say I did believe in going to church on Saturday, right? If I'm in the Bible and what I'm believing is in the Bible, it honestly, it doesn't matter what day I go to church. That is a trick of the enemy to cause you to not believe or to question what you're supposed to believe, according to the Bible, by making some big deal about what day you go to service.
I feel like that's ego.
That's irrelevant.
I feel like that's ego because in other religions, at a certain time, every day, they on their knees praying. And that is a show of I'm dropping my ego for my creator. No matter what time it is, at this time, no matter what I'm doing, I'm stopping and I'm giving praise to my creator, showing discipline, showing so much. Not to say because my creator, it don't matter what day my creator told me to go to and praise him. I can do it the day after that. It's the ego, in my opinion. And that's not a fact. That's just opinion.
But that's not ego. Again, that is someone poking, or at least attempting to poke a hole in someone's belief.
How if it was already just told?
Listen, because like I said, the day is irrelevant. God is not going.
Then why give it?
God is not going to deny you because you went on a Sunday versus a Saturday, right?
Mm-hmm.
So regardless of what day you go, it's really irrelevant. And then to suggest that it is a fallacy of your religion because you go on this day versus that day.
What's the definition of fallacy? I'm a little slow.
It's a falsehood.
Oh, okay.
It's a falsehood to suggest that day is what's going to ultimately determine whether or not what you believe is valid,
mm-hmm.
or because you go on this day, somehow it's irrelevant.
Oh, it's actually just one thing.
And so from that perspective, again, that's a way to poke holes into a person's belief, but has no real bearing on what your relationship is. And I understand Muslims, I'm sure they would argue they're more dedicated to the religion than the average Christian.
Mm-hmm.
And they're welcome.
Even Jehovah's Witnesses. I mean, Jehovah's Witnesses are the only ones that knock on your door and say, "Hey, come to God."
That's fine, and they're welcome to argue that. Mm-hmm. But I don't believe that just because they pray 5 times a day, mm-hmm. As a Christian, if you wanted to pray 5 times a day, there's nothing stopping you. There's nothing in the Bible that says you can't pray 5 times a day.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But it is in the Bible say go to church on the Sabbath.
So it's irrelevant to that conversation because none of those things are ultimately what validate your relationship with God.
Mm. None I understand.
Validate your relationship with God. Mm-hmm. Again, it's irrelevant.
But again, the point I bring that up for is the trick of the enemy is like the art of war. So I implement one thing, let's call it Easter and the bunny. I implement 2 things, let's call it Santa. I implement so many, now I got 40 things that are implemented in your life that eventually I got your mind. And that is the trick of the enemy. So one of the tricks is taking your day and making it on a Sunday. Taking your God, making it look white. I implement so many things that it's over 40 things that's implemented that now I got your mind. And if you can't see it, then you never will. And I will just always have your mind. So that's why I'm pointing out all of these small implications that keep your mind where the enemy wants to have it. And without staying down and sitting on the bus and not just going for it. Because again, my song, stand up for something or you'll fall for anything. It's how they get you in your mind. Like I was listening to the dude, I forgot, it's a CIA agent. He got some podcast, I forgot what it's called. And he was saying that 98% of the world has a perception that everything is just them. 98%. So it's a 2% that understands that that's not the truth. The perception is bigger than that, and they can manipulate what you perceive you think you see. I was looking for the podcast in the car. I couldn't find it to actually get the verbiage and let you hear it beforehand. But that's literally what's going on. People are being manipulated mentally and don't know it. And through small implementations of food, of music, of your water, once I get a bunch of them, I got your mind now. And that's a point, that's the real point of it. That's why even if you do see it, like in the Matrix Part 4, right? It was a part in the Matrix Part 4 when Neo was like, if you attack the system's going to send its minions to attack you. Even if you say anything bad, you say certain things about Trump, even though Trump is saying something right, they done already put something out to make him look like the bad guy, that you want to kill the messenger, no matter what. No matter what, even he's saying something right, but since he's attacking the system is sending the minions that have already put something in his head about Trump. That's how they get your mind. And that's what I'm showing you, the small implications of how. No matter how you disagree with it, until you go cold turkey and say, I'm just not going to put up with none of it. One of the things, like he was in the thing, if you go with one of the temptations, eventually the rest of them go fall off.
So I'm going to say this to you.
Go ahead.
I don't disagree that the world introduces to you things to influence you. And they do it in small increments.
Right.
And they're doing it all the time.
In every way, shape, and form.
And so I'm not here to disagree on that point, but I am here to say that when we're talking about your religion and your faith and your faith is built through the relationship that you build with God.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you are building a relationship with God, it doesn't matter what they throw at you. Your relationship with God will sustain you in order to keep you on whatever path God has you on. And again, celebrating Christmas or acknowledging Easter, those are, perhaps if you don't have a relationship, perhaps those things may knock you off, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think those are the things that will knock you off personally, but just to kind of roll with conversations going here. But I think your relationship with God is what will sustain you. And so if you are in the mindset, which most of us are not in the mindset today of building a relationship with God, but if you're in that mindset, those aren't the things that are going to distract you from your belief system. And if they do distract you from your belief system, then ultimately you really didn't have one in the first place.
But aren't these things aimed at children? And that's who we were talking about in the beginning. And that's why we brought up the Easter, because it's aimed and pushed at children. That's why I brought up the LGBTQ.
It goes back to what is your parents telling you, though?
Again, that's why I brought up the LGBTQ, because they pushing stuff at your children. And even though you can tell your children whatever, what they pushing at your children is going to have a bigger influence because it's worldwide versus just in the house.
That depends on
the relationship with you and the child.
That depends on what you're putting into your child, because what you're putting in your child is always going to have a greater influence over what the world is doing. And like they say, like the Bible says, train up a child in the way they should go, and then they will always come back to it, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're training your child up, let's say in religion, and you're putting the word in them, even though they may stray. Okay. And the Bible, because you're going to ultimately make a choice at some point in your life. And some of those choices you make may take you away from what your home training was. But as the Bible says, because you put it in them, they're coming back.
Right.
And so that's
a proverb, though.
And so it's a proverb, right. but it goes back to, what are you doing as a parent? See, the problem with today is not that the proverb is false. Is that we don't have parents today.
Correct.
You see what I'm saying? And so I was speaking the other day. 70% of kids are born into single parent households.
Why?
Why are they born into single parent households? Because we make bad decisions as adults. But hold on, that. So my point is that what you put in your child is ultimately going to determine how your child views the world. And so if your child is viewing the world, and if your child has no foundation, mm-hmm. it's not because the world didn't give them a foundation. It's mainly because you didn't provide a foundation for your child. Correct. Before that child went into the world.
Correct.
And so the world is going to be the world, and we're not out here necessarily to change the world. Mm-hmm. We're out here to influence the ones that we can. Those children of yours that you're responsible for, perhaps your nieces and your nephews that you have a responsibility to as well. And you can put in them what is necessary. And again, even though they may stray,
Mhm.
If you put in the good stuff, if you put in the right stuff, they will come back.
And that's why I was
that's
saying,
what I'm talking about
okay.
when I say, you know, it's while those things might have been created to be a distraction, they're only a distraction if you allow them to.
And why put it in
when
them,
you
though?
have
Why
when you
put
have
it in
sound foundation
Okay.
and what you believe in,
They
those
children.
things do not become a distraction. Again, I say, my brother,
Okay.
you, the parent, are responsible
It's
for your children.
I understand
And
that,
so
but what I'm
your
saying, why
children
put
are
that in
only
them?
going to be led astray.
I'm asking a question. Why
They're
put
only
that
going to be
in
led
them?
astray if you allow them to.
So why put that Easter bunny stuff in them in the first place? Back to what we originally said.
Because like I said,
Because it's fun.
it's there's things that you allow your child to experience for the sake of a child. It's not.
There's so many other ways.
It is not hurting.
There's so many other ways that you can figure out.
Yes, Easter bunny.
You just said what I put in the child is what I'm gonna get out the child, and I'm putting some lies and confusion in the child. Why would I do that?
I'm gonna say to you again,
for the sake of fun.
I'm gonna say to you again, my brother. When you have a kid,
okay,
I want to see.
Good. I got nieces and nephews. I say the same thing too.
I'm not here to say that you don't speak this truth to everyone you speak to.
Oh, everybody know Micah.
So, but that's what we're not talking about, because we're still, even in this conversation, we're talking from a concept of, you don't have a kid, right?
Right.
You don't have a wife.
But the point is. And so now you're trying to knock it down like I ain't credible.
No,
that's what it sounds like. Oh, you ain't credible. You don't know what you're talking about.
There are things
that I just don't understand.
There are things that you will better understand
later on
once you find yourself in a true committed relationship with another person.
Right.
And then once you find yourself,
that has nothing to do with God. That has nothing to do with God.
We're not talking about God.
Nah, I can't let you. You're trying to discredit me because I'm not married without kids, and it's like that has nothing to do with God. It has nothing to do with the Bible. They got nothing to do with the Easter Bunny. They got nothing to do with tooth fairies. It has nothing to do with Pinocchio and all the demonic stuff that they put in front of humans. Has me not having no kids and not being in a relationship got nothing to do with the demonic stuff that they put everywhere around the world. And I ain't gonna. I don't say it to you again. Say it again, but it still ain't got nothing to do with that.
There will be, because here's the thing. Even when talking about a relationship, right? I understand what you believe, right? And I respect that you believe what you believe, but there's no guarantee that the woman that
who's to say I'm going to be in a relationship? You're doing too many hypotheticals right now.
And I'm kids. You have kids.
Maybe who said I'm gonna have kids? That you're doing so many. Like one day you going. And who said I'm gonna do any of this? Nobody said I want to bring children on this world and knowing how it goes. Nobody said any of this. Nobody said I want to be in a relationship with a woman.
My point.
I could want to be in a relationship with a man. Nobody said any of this. So you're not making a point. You're doing a whole bunch of assumptions and saying I'm right.
I'm going to say it to you like this.
Go ahead.
I'm going to say it to you like this, and we'll move on from this.
Correct.
But every person listening to this podcast right now who is in a committed relationship and who has children understands exactly what I'm saying.
Not if they are black and are not from...
Especially if they're black.
This is my thing. This is my thing. You got to understand that respectfully, we talk about you're a Republican, but it's a lot of Americanized black Americans. But that's why you got Juneteenth is now coming up, because you got a lot of people that's understanding and now waking up and seeing that the way that you're used to living ain't the way. So that's why people... from your audience might be seeing it, but the spiritual people, they're disagreeing with you because we don't want to teach them. Why we can't teach them about Juneteenth? We ain't got to teach them about that Christmas lie, that nonsense. It's lies. Why would I teach my children lies and say I'm giving them a childhood and feel like, well, you ain't got no kids, you're gonna understand, you're gonna lie to your kids to give them a childhood too? No, I will never do that. And if you... well, since you do it, I'm gonna say it on my podcast how I feel about people that lie to kids. It's just, no, I will never do that. I'm gonna tell my kids the truth. That's some nonsense. This is the truth. Before you was a slave, before slavery, what was our spirituality and our religion? That is what I would teach my kids. I would not teach them that after being a slave, because you had to survive, this is what you're going to do. And as a slave, you're not able to keep your God. You praise and worship the slave master's God, or you and your family will be slain. It's that simple. So after slavery, who is the God that you have? Why you and your slave master got the same God? So that being said, everything that you're teaching them is some nonsense, and you can point it out with the Easter Bunny and all that stuff. So if I'm lying to my kids, no, I'm gonna just tell them the truth about, hey, before slavery, this is what we did. We ate and drank. We did the real stuff. That's why they don't like Zimbabwe. That's why they don't like Haiti. That's why they don't like, because they did the real. And now, since you're gonna rebuke us, we ain't fooling with you. Or we gonna give you, plastic rice now that you need us type stuff because you rejected us back in the day. It's history that shows everything that I'm saying, unless respectfully you got a Western way of thinking, like they say. That's why Africa ain't ruling with Africa trying to go right with Putin now, because it's a NATO versus, and it's good and evil, dude. And you're not understanding that we're literally in the belly of the beast. We are literally in the land of Satan, and you don't know. You hear people overseas talking about it, but when you're in it, you don't really get it because you think that what you're doing is right. When you're watching that movie, you see Wakanda 1, but Black Panther 1, and Killmonger's right. But Black Panther is the hero. But everything Killmonger is saying is right. And it's like, wait, why is Killmonger the villain though? If everything he's saying is right. That's how it literally is about America. Everything we're doing and everything is horrible. We're literally Satan. From the beginning, from how we're angled to be the god of war, it's a whole bunch of demonic nonsense from how the pilgrims came over here. It goes back to history and to worship, and it's even the religion. It's like, come on, stop it. It's right there. And to now and be in the information age and act like we don't know because of what they taught us in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s to survive. Now that we ain't got to survive like that no more, we can start acting like we know something now. And if that's what I'm here for, that's what I'm here for. But we got to stop acting like those times are the right time. No, it's not. And it's clear as day when you got an Easter bunny laying eggs. That is so anti having children. There you go. It was in your face back then. And now that the LGBTQ is all up in your face, undeniable. It's like, but they've been doing this stuff. They had the Easter bunny laying eggs. Come on now, stop it.
That's not the same thing, bro. The fact that you keep trying to equate that is crazy.
So did you paint the eggs?
The fact that
did you paint them? What color did you paint them? What color?
It's crazy that you keep trying to equate those two things.
What color was those eggs when y'all was hunting for?
Real quick. So you said something in your rant there that I found interesting. One thing that I want to address. So it sounds like you are of the belief that that basically being Christian was a what am I trying to say? A belief given to Black people in America from
the Council of Nicaea.
Is that what you're trying to say?
From the Council of Nicaea.
And so as a result,
after the Christian Crusades.
So you believe that then a Black person being Christian is really anti to their original belief system.
Exactly what Marcus Garvey was talking about. Mm-hmm. Exactly what Marcus Garvey was talking about. That's why Jesus has always been a white picture throughout history.
Right, so, Jesus has been a white picture.
Even though this man was in Egypt.
Because
with hair of bronze and feet of bronze. And the
victor displays the images that he wants.
Very true.
So I respect that, but
why the Christian Crusades though? Because they're the victors. That's right. You're right. You just said it. Because the victor displays what they want.
When we talk about history, I mean, in history, there have been multiple religions, multiple wars for land, for people, for religion. I mean, that's just a part of history. But we're wrong to, one of the places I think we go wrong with that is sometimes we associate those things to being the foundation of the belief system, meaning we associate those things as the Bible told me to do so. In reality, a lot of these things are because man is manipulating the Bible to make it feel to do what he felt like doing.
Correct.
And so we wrongly associate it was the Christians doing it. No, it was a man who professed to be a Christian in that moment that did a thing.
Wait.
But it's not that his thing was validated by the Bible because it's words.
But
I can manipulate words to do what I want. It's not
everything
that the
was
words
broken.
told me to do it. It's that I manipulated those words to make them do what I said I wanted them to do.
That's what
But
everybody does.
that doesn't make the word wrong. That makes you wrong for manipulating a word in an incorrect way.
But what?
And that's a fallacy that you have to be careful of.
Okay.
Because you can take yourself down the rabbit hole of whatever you want to when you begin to allow man's incorrect interpretation of a word to be the validation to a point that you want to make, because that too will take you down a rabbit hole of disbelief in whatever it is that you believe in, because you didn't listen, because you took the man's word for what it said instead of going to find out what the word said for yourself. So even if you give me a picture of white Jesus, I can go read the Bible and find out he wasn't white. And because I've read it and found out he wasn't white, I don't have to believe that this picture is Jesus. I can believe what I can allow my brother to believe is Jesus if he so desires, because quite frankly, it has nothing to do with my belief system.
Where did your belief system come from?
My belief system comes from the Bible.
Okay, where did that come from?
Where does the Bible come from?
Yeah.
The Bible was a book passed down over many generations, translated from many different people.
Exactly.
What is your point?
The point is, where does it come from?
It comes
Everybody
from
has a culture, and the culture,
it comes from the stories of men throughout time, no different than most writings from historical perspective.
Exactly, and that's the point that I'm making. The divide and conquer, still one of the art of wars. That once you understand the history of it, all of it is just broken up and taken to pieces. So you get a piece, and you can never come together and actually understand what's really going on around you. It's a like I call them, diabolical genius. Once you understand the grand scheme of things. But if you only got a piece of it, you're going to only understand that piece. And like I was saying, the CIA agent said, 90% of us think that everything revolves around just us. So if I just got that piece, I'm going to swear that that's all that it is. Even though over here they got a piece that says something so similar, but it says something a little bit different. And you really got to put the puzzle together. That's the point of life. And that's the diabolical genius of Satan. Like, he breaks it up.
I think you can do all of those things and still be able to recognize untruths when you see them. Mm-hmm. So whether you
can't trust your eyes.
Whether you want to believe in God, whether you want to believe in the Quran, the Bible, whether you believe in the Bible, whether you believe in the Quran, it's your foundational belief system that will allow you to interpret the world and discern in the world what is good and what is evil. And as far as I'm concerned, I know what I believe and I'm good with what I believe. And there's nobody on this planet that's going to change my belief about what I believe. And so if I am wrong one day, so be it. I will be wrong one day. But I guess, again, I just challenge, because especially in a world where there's so much lawlessness, there's no real standards today. And so when we start poking holes in truths, okay, to me, we're doing what Satan wants to do, which is continue confusion.
Think so?
I definitely think so, because a lot of people, I believe all people really, need a foundation, or should have a foundation in God, is what I believe, in order to live a fulfilling life. And the fact that a lot of us don't have that is the reason why I feel like a lot of us are chasing things that will ultimately never satisfy us, because true satisfaction doesn't come from what you're doing. True satisfaction comes from within. And if you don't have a foundation that you're built on within, then there's really nothing in life that's going to really ever fulfill you because you never had anything built up on the inside in the first place.
Sounds like that's knowing yourself. And once you get to know yourself and who you are,
no, it's deeper than that.
You think it's deeper?
It's deeper than that. Yeah, it's deeper than that. It's I think in knowing yourself, right? Because as you develop your relationship with God, what that will do is that will expose you to what your purpose is in life as He guides you on that plane that He's already set before you, right? He's already set out the path that He wants you to be. He's just looking to connect with you to put you on that path that will give you the fulfillment that you're looking for in life. And the problem that we have is we are too busy questioning what the truth is, and looking for alternative solutions when I believe the solution is so simple.
And what's the solution?
God is the solution. God is the solution. In my opinion, that's where I would take you.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? And so,
right.
And so, that foundation, because as you develop that relationship, He's going to guide you. He's going to tell you where you need to be. He's going to tell you who the people He wants you to connect with. He's going to show you the doors that He wants to walk through to give you purpose and fulfillment in your life.
To do what?
That's a personal walk that you go with God.
Because
what He has for you, it may not be what He has for me.
Right.
And so I can't tell you right now what God has for you, because that's not my response. That's not my assignment. My assignment is to find out what God wants for me. If He shares something with me, I'll let you know, brother.
So how would the conversation go with God and Moses to do and open people's eyes about the truth instead of people like, because to me that's how it kind of sounds like when Moses was saying, hey, boom, boom, pow. Other people were like, man, ain't nobody trying to hear that. We just going to do what we doing and go back and stay with the way that we know. And Moses is like, yeah, that ain't the way, though. I'm trying to show you the way.
Right. And God told Moses, keep going back until they listen. And eventually they did.
Now God said, draw the line. And whoever on this side of the line, and whoever on that side of the line.
But my point is, God gave Moses an assignment, right? And once He gave Moses the assignment, it was Moses' job to do the assignment. It wasn't Moses' job to make the people listen. It was Moses' job to do the assignment. Now, whether or not you chose to listen to Moses and what his assignment was, that was your personal decision. And that's the thing, that's the misconception. God gives you a word, and it's your responsibility to follow the word. Now, whether somebody else walks with you on your word, that's not your responsibility. That's God's responsibility if God said, I'm going to lead 1,000 people, my responsibility is to do the thing that God says that's going to lead me to a point where I'm going to lead 1,000 people.
I got you.
You follow me? Now, as far as getting those thousands of people, that's on God. God, you said you sending me 5,000 people to lead.
Yeah.
And so whatever God's going to do to bring those 1,000 people, He's going to do to bring those 1,000 people. But first, you have to do the thing that He said you was going to do. So if it was pastoring, you got to become the pastor, right? You got to develop yourself according to how He wants you to develop to become the pastor that He wants you to be able to lead His 1,000 people.
Right.
So it's not that people have to, you're not mandated to get the people, you're mandated to do your assignment, and then God will send those people who are mandated to be up under your assignment.
I agree 100%. I totally 100% agree. That's why I have 2 different podcasts. I 100% agree, though. And that's why I don't try to sway or change your mind ever. I just present the facts. That's all I ever try to do, and let it be known that hey, there's a piece of it, but that ain't the whole thing. And them that know, they know. An older dude, I'm not gonna say his name, OE, that's what we call him. OE, he told me the same thing, man. As he was coming into knowledge. OE's older than he old, but he got tired of trying to convince people of the truth. It's like hey man, I've been studying this thing since I was, and he's 70 something years old, and he's like, man, and he tried to tell me, don't try to convince people, man. If they don't want to hear it, they just don't want to hear it. And I was going through that phase, and I gotta let them know, because now that I know, I gotta let you know, because it's so good, and like it feels so amazing to know.
That is classic.
And don't nobody want to hear that though. They like, man, nobody want to hear. I'm so used to how I've been thinking. What I want to hear that for, man? And
we will respectfully agree to disagree, but yeah, man, I always, I always wonder, one thing you notice about most Christians will tell you what they believe and why they believe it if you ask. But if you want to disagree with them, they will let you disagree with them, and go about your way, because again, I go back to my assignment is to reach the people that God wants me to reach. And if God hasn't asked me to reach you and change your mind, then I'm cool with that. And we will still be friends or whatever it is.
You Jehovah's Witness?
Excuse me?
You Jehovah's Witness?
I am not.
How many people have you reached this month?
How many people have I reached this month?
This month.
I couldn't tell you, bro.
That many?
I couldn't tell you.
That many?
I couldn't tell you.
See, me and Jehovah's Witnesses, I feel like we're the only two that go out and literally knock on your door. Who are you? I'm going to talk to you, even though I know you don't want to have this conversation. I know you don't want to talk about it. I know you don't want to hear nothing that I'm saying, but I got to tell you the truth, because that's just what I'm here to do. And I understand, like you were saying, once God comes to you with your purpose, you do it no matter what. That's why I brought up Moses, because I ain't Moses, but I know my life's purpose. And the purpose is to wake people up and let them understand that, hey, what it was ain't what it is, and it's a veil. And I can try my hardest to get that veil over your eyes. And if you ain't one of the ones that I can get the veil over your eyes, cool, so let it be. I'll put the seed there, let God put the water in, let it grow later. And all I do is plant the seed.
I hope God ain't putting no water on them seeds. You plant no water.
So don't do it, God. Don't do it. Don't do it, God. Don't do it. All right.
Oh my gosh.
Just letting you know, man.
I know what you do, dog.
I just don't understand how people can understand that before slavery, we had a whole different God.
Again, though, one of the oldest Bible was Ethiopian. So there were Africans
that still own the Bible.
There were Africans that believed in Christianity. It wasn't.
It's very true, but it's certain things that we didn't
new
do
to the black man, if you will.
It's certain things that's in this.
And then again,
they infiltrated as I told you they do. Hold on, as I told you they do. They infiltrate. That's what they do. So again, like you said, the oldest. So what's the one we gonna infiltrate and make it ours so that you really coming to me? It's diabolically genius, and I get it. Yes, it is, dude. Like
and then as we've already acknowledged, Jesus was not a white man. So none of this is quote unquote a white man's religion, because it all was started by Middle Eastern men in the first place. So it doesn't matter, quote unquote. All of that stuff is meant to be a distraction. Is really what it is.
You think so?
It is a distraction, because none of it has
a distraction from what?
And what it said.
Distraction from what?
Because everybody has to, you have to chase that thing for yourself.
Distraction from
what?
So
it doesn't matter what this guy who you call, it matters, that pastor, true pastor matters in the sense that he's been placed in your life to shepherd you. But even a true pastor will tell you, what I'm looking for you to do is to read that thing for yourself. Mm-hmm. And so regardless of what I've said, what I'm really looking for you to do is to read that thing for yourself, so that number one, we can do two things. Number one, you can know it for yourself. And then number two, you can validate everything I told you based on what it says. Because I can't tell you
I'm reading a pamphlet.
That it doesn't.
I'm memorizing a pamphlet and then telling you to read the pamphlet back to me, but not knowing it's 46 other pamphlets. And like you already said, this pamphlet done been translated by who knows who, and you don't even know if what this pamphlet's saying is the truth. You've already said, I asked you where it came from. You said it was translated. Where was it translated from?
It's been translated in multiple languages.
From?
What do you mean from?
So if I write this down in Spanish, and you translate it into English, you got it from me.
Right.
Okay. Where was it translated from?
It's been translated in different languages, like I
No,
said.
no. From what though?
You mean what was the original Bible?
Yes. Yeah. No,
Off the
no,
top
no,
of
no,
my
no, no,
head.
no, no, no. We ain't
Is that
talking.
what you're asking
You
me?
still on the Bible. Like that's the only book that got some knowledge, and that's very
That's the only
disrespectful.
book that matters to me.
And that's why we don't have these. If you really feel like God is only in the Bible, it's like, wait, what? That is mind blowing. That it's 66 chapters. God, you can put God in 66 chapters. Really? That's my God bigger than that, big dog. That's all I'm saying. My God ain't in no six. You're not gonna limit my God to one book and say that's just what it is. And my book done been translated. I hear you, but there's nothing you can say that's just gonna make me believe that. And I've like, how do you believe that your God is in 66 chapters?
Faith. Simple. It's so simple. That's my point. It's so simple.
They had faith in Jim and they drank the Kool-Aid. I ain't got no faith.
No.
That one Jim Crow?
No. You don't have faith in Jim. You have faith in God, brother.
And they had
And God ain't named Jim. So no, not faith in Jim.
What's God's name?
God.
That's a title. Your name is not Dad. Your name is B. Period. God is a title. They don't even teach you that. What's God's name? Oh, okay. That's the point that I'm making. Where it come from? We were translated. What's God's name? Oh, no, God.
I don't need to know that.
What do you need to know then? What do you, I don't need to know.
I need to know what it said in the book.
In that pamphlet. All right.
I need to know what it says in the book.
I mean, that's all you need, man.
That is the information.
That's why you're buying land on Earth, because that's all you need, man. That just makes no sense. It's like, what?
All right. let's keep it pushing, though, man. We will keep it pushing. We keep it pushing, man.
All right.
This is another topic you had introduced to me.
Yes.
I wanted to speak on for a moment.
Yes.
So, obviously right now there's a move to introduce to the world alternative meats, right? And so there is several types that we do use in America. We use, there is Beyond is very popular. Impossible is very popular. There's other companies that make other types of alternative meat, if you will. Most of these things are plant-based. But in essence, they're alternative meats. And so I saw in Italy, you brought up to me that, and I'll let you explain it. So what are they doing in Italy? Talk to me about that.
Well, basically everything you said is a science experiment, and that's basically all it is. Nothing is real, and your body needs to be digesting realness. When you put that fake chemistry set food in your body is not recognizing that as real food. So basically, Italy is like, nah, we're not having that. And Italy is one of the top in food. Every time food, un magnifique. That's just how Italy is. I don't have the quotes right now because I just got a deep spiritual conversation, so I ain't got my quotes in my head. But yeah, basically that's what was going on, man. Italy, they signed a bill that includes measures that will prohibit the production and the sale of synthetic food and feed. Italy, which is the world leader in the food and safety, has the responsibility of leading the way in the health and environmental protection policies. And they basically just put a ban on any type of fake food. Actually, maybe, and I think this went into effect July 19th. And then a week before that, I don't know if we're allowed to say Putin's name in America, but Putin put a ban on GMOs and all type of GMO foods, basically getting rid of science type foods. We also know that a couple of years before, or either was it during COVID or a couple of years before COVID, it was a lot of farmers that was coming up dead. Like, it was killing farmers. Like, you farming, we trying to kill you, because nobody understood it at the time, but now that they got this, computer-made food, it makes sense why they're trying to kill the farmers. And Italy is like, nah, we're not having that. So they're actually the first one to actually say it's banned. Putin was the first one to say GMOs banned. And only in America do they have so many foods that are banned in other countries. Ritz crackers are banned in other countries. Ritz are so delicious. If you know by Ritz crackers,
Why are Ritz crackers bad?
they got certain additives in there that cause cancer. That's the thing about it. And again, America is Satan. I'm not joking. Like, it literally, I didn't want to understand it, but now I do. And America's Satan. So you can get all the stuff that's illegal and banned in other countries. You get it in America. I ain't gonna say illegal. Not, you can't get anything illegal in America, not at all. But the things that are banned in other countries, you can eat it here.
Well, do you understand why they're looking for alternative meats?
We shouldn't be eating meat at all. We don't have the teeth for it. So no, I don't understand it.
Oh, so are you a vegetarian?
I'm a pescatarian. And I'm finna stop being that because the Hiroshima, is it Hiroshima? One of the oil spills in the Pacific Ocean that been going on since 2005 is still going on. And it's really, that's why you really not gonna be able to eat seafood too much longer because of the oils and they messing up the water and it's really getting bad. But yeah, for now.
So you're working to go where you'll be off meat altogether
I'm trying to get there.
and be
but
what, vegetarian or vegan?
I think I'm going to be a vegetarian. I was dating this girl who told me when she was younger, like a kid, she would eat different plants. And she was at my pool and she was like, yeah, we used to eat those yellow ones. And the yellow ones weren't good, but it was the ones that's kind of like greenish, like four-leaf clovers. Those ones are actually good. So, I'm going to just keep getting information like that and try to figure out what I can eat because I mean, at the end of the day, your body is your temple, and what you put in it is what you get out of it. So I want to try to change that eventually. It's hard though, because food is like crack, man. I'm trying to tell you, it's hard to get off food. But I go through my spells literally where I don't feel like eating. Like I'm literally mentally strong enough to not eat that day. Like, oh, I can eat some trail mix or something to that nature. But I'm mentally getting to where I can just drink some water and I'd be good.
Because a lot of the reason for the push on alternative meat sources is because we're growing at a rate where it's becoming more and more challenging to produce, beef, chicken, pork, whatever, at the rate needed to feed the population at the way that it's grown.
You think so?
It's everywhere.
You think so? I mean, I've seen what happened on Monday, so I definitely understand the concept that you're saying, but do I believe it?
So you believe that it's easy to mass produce meat at the level needed to feed the current population?
I'm saying it's easier to figure out something else than meat versus create a fake meat that's going to kill you.
It's easier to find something else other than meat. You just lost me. What were you trying to say?
I'm saying I can plant some trees, grow some fruits and vegetables, and I don't have to make anything fake. And we can eat that versus eating meat that's fake and causes cancers.
Oh, I see what you're trying to say.
Right. I don't see, it doesn't make any sense because the population is growing that now we got to make fake food that's going to kill us versus the population is growing. Let's plant some trees and get some strawberries and some mangoes and things that can feed us that aren't fake meat.
Well, the challenge, just to give some pushback. So to be honest with you, things like Beyond Meat, Impossible Meat, and then some of these alternatives they're trying, in all honesty, they haven't been on the market long enough to really know what their true effects are.
Yet. But the clone meat
it's gonna take 15, 20 years to really understand what the long-term effects are from consistently eating those types of meat. So at the moment, it's really speculation because it hasn't been existing long enough to know that for sure.
You really want to take that chance?
It's not about making. I don't eat Impossible Meat or Beyond Meat, so I'm not the consumer. But I will be honest and say I'm not going to say that meat's going to kill anybody because quite honestly, it hasn't been on the market long enough to know that that's true.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I mean, people haven't been eating it consistently that long because even most people who eat it, a lot of them aren't even eating that consistently. They're using it as an alternative source as opposed to their daily habit.
What about chicken nuggets? How you feel about chicken nuggets from McDonald's?
Chicken nuggets from McDonald's. I, I'm not here to
Okay, well, chicken nuggets, period. Do you feel
I'm
like
not
that's
here
actual meat or
to
lamb meat?
validate because I've seen some documentaries, um, but I can't say for sure that all of this meat is fake. I don't know. I don't know for sure. I'm just being honest with you. I I, I can't say for sure whether it is or it isn't.
So how would you know for sure? They would tell you, and then you would know, or would you need to go
No,
to the
I mean
lab?
obviously their products are proprietary, so they have no
So you need to go to the lab.
legally they have
Gotcha.
legally they have no
So
responsibility
if
to
you
tell
if
me.
you don't go to the lab and see it with your own eyes,
Honestly, I'm not even worried about it. To be
you just
honest
gonna
with
eat
you,
it.
I don't even think about it.
You just eat it.
What I do is if I have a concern about something, I will either not eat it or limit my consumption of it.
And that is why pescatarian, vegan.
So
I have a huge concern about it,
that's what I
but
would do.
I don't think people have enough concern about it. Because if we know they're trying to get us toward the wall E situation with, and they know that food is important, why not give them some bull? If we know, check this out. If we know that Satan runs the world, why are we not concerned with those things that make us bad, bring us down, and we know it's Satan? I mean, because that's where I be at with it. Because if I know for a fact that all of these moves are being put into play because it's Satan, right? Why don't I want to do something about it? No, I'm gonna just let it go and just let it happen. I guess so. I mean, it don't bother me. I mean, I feel you.
Again, when you do the research, these alternative things are coming up because there's a concern that we're not going to be able to produce meat at the level we need to sustain the production and the consumption of meat that we currently have.
If that's what you're
And
saying.
quite frankly, we really haven't even broached the we really haven't even broached the levels at which they are looking for alternative sources. You know, the one that I'm most intrigued by is the one where they are taking the muscles of the animal in a lab and then growing the cells of that muscle of the animal within the lab, and then taking those muscles and in essence shaping them into whatever structure we are used to seeing.
Don't it say let every living, breathing thing praise God? Don't it say that?
Okay.
And yet you okay with them eating these animals and doing all that stuff?
Well, first of all, that's not on the market. That's in production. That's in testing phases. But
so we can test them.
it's not.
Where is Peter when you need him?
It's not about people can do whatever somebody else approves for them to do. So I'm not here to say they're doing a bad thing or to acknowledge they're doing a good thing. I'm here to recognize that there is a problem that they do see in the world. There is going to come a point in time, I truly believe that, where potentially we are not going to be able to produce meat without having to destroy large amounts of greenery and things of that nature.
Why?
In order to feed the world. I do think that's
why do you think we need, if we're not carnivores, we are not meat eaters, why do you think they need to keep on making meat? If we're not even supposed to be
regardless of what you're saying may be true, right?
Okay.
But that's irrelevant because we've built a lifestyle where meat is a part of our lifestyle.
Then change it. We don't build a lifestyle where war is a part of our lifestyle. I don't mean continue going to war.
You're not going to convince hundreds of millions of people to just stop eating meat.
Why not if it ain't no more? If we're running out of it, some kind of way, we're just running out of meat.
It's not that we're running out of meat. We're running out of feeding people at the level that we do now.
Okay, so
we don't even have that problem today.
We're running out of eggs.
That's a problem that may not hit us for another 300 years.
All the stuff we're not supposed to be eating. Don't you understand that? The stuff we're not supposed to be eating, we're running out of.
Regardless of how you feel about it, you're not going to be able to legislate to stop consuming these foods. It's just not a thing.
I get it, but it's just
You're
weird
not going to be
that
able to do that.
it's not the way. It's not the way it should have been. And even though, because it is the
And for
way
every
now,
and for
instead
every
of changing
person,
it, trying to get back to the way that we should be, we're going to just try to make it worse. And that's why in every movie, they come back and kill the humans for doing stupidness and making it worse. Like, why not try to make it better? Go back, just, hey, you'll take 10 years and make it better. Get off of meat, period. And get back to the juices and berries that you know. But instead, we're gonna just burn down some more trees so we can make fake meat. What? That's dumb.
That's the whole point. You don't need to burn down trees to make fake meat.
I thought you said we're gonna have to knock down some fake meat. What you had said?
No, they knock down trees to be able to continue to expand like cattle farming.
No.
So if you go to the Amazon,
Mm.
they're cutting down acres and acres within the Amazon in order to expand their territory to be able to produce more cows.
Right. So that's my thing. That's how, with things to that nature, in my mind, and I don't know if I'm the only one to see it like this, and sometimes I am, but this is the typically strange. That ain't nothing but Satan. That's cutting down the Amazon that we know we need as people on earth. Because before the earth is mine, I got to do certain things to it to make it hell-like. Just stay with your religion for a second. It's going to happen. How does it happen? What's the process to get it to where it is, where we know it's going to happen? We say it ain't going to happen in my lifetime, but we're watching it happen in our lifetime. As I told you, it's certain small implementations. That's how gods move, the art of war. So you don't see them cutting down the Amazon, which is God. The trees that are all connected and everything through the earth. The trees are connected. That's why you can touch a tree. It's so many things with trees. You gonna cut it down? You don't see that that's like, I think I'm the only one that might see, yeah, that's Satan's plan, because I couldn't do that 20 years ago. The humans wouldn't allow me to do that. It would stop me some kind of way. Now I got some type of way, I got their mind thinking that I'm doing this to benefit them. Is that not the trick of the enemy?
I'm not going to call that a trick of the enemy. Because number one, there are people who are trying to stop them, but not every place has the same type of.
We've seen the Green Inferno. That was the movie.
Not every place has the same type of laws that make it harder for you to do those things. Some places make the laws easier for you to do those kinds of things. And again, I'm not going to claim that's Satan's way of destroying the planet. I'm not going to speak to that. But yes, regardless of the reasons why, if you will, or the ultimate, whatever you want to call it, that is why we're looking at these alternative meat sources. It's those things that are happening, and again, these things are future things. These things may not even be here by the time I die.
I get it.
It may be here by the time my young son dies.
Exactly.
But these are problems that there is that a future world is going to develop.
You think so?
And these
you don't see that though, bro?
They're being developed for that reason.
G. In your book, right? They say in the last days, if I ain't got a mark, right? I can't purchase this, I can't buy that, right? So if I can't go and kill a cow and eat it myself if I want some meat, I got to go and purchase this lab meat. You don't see the setup now? You don't see how it's slowly, like, I think I'm the only one, I really do think I'm the only one that sees the art of war from a bird's eye view of how it's being implemented and how it's being ushered in, how we can look at the LGBTQ community, right? We saw how that got ushered in. Like, okay, they put a little bit there, they did. It's the same tactic they do, and we don't see that. And instead of stopping it, it's just, hey, that's just what it is. That's just how, that's what, it's like, nah, I disagree. I disagree. I'm not going to just turn my cheek while Satan takes over. Like, I can't. I'm going to die regardless. So I disagree with it.
So
we shouldn't be eating meat in the first place, because that changes our perception, our way of feeling.
For every scientist that argues that meat is bad, I can find you another 10 that will argue that meat is okay.
What your book say? What your Bible say, though? Forget them scientists. What your Bible say?
The Bible is not making an argument about meat, because the Bible ate meat too.
But the Bible told you what? No, they ate fish.
They ate more than fish in the Bible, bro.
Yeah, but they gave you a strict diet on what to eat and what not to eat in Leviticus.
Bro, they ate way more than fish in the
They
Bible.
gave you a strict diet in Leviticus of what to eat and what not to eat. Now you're gonna give me somebody who wasn't an example,
There's
but in
people
Leviticus,
in the Bible who ate fish. They ate people in the Bible who ate pork. There's
Okay.
people in the Bible.
Let me ask you this then. Let me just ask you.
They ate it all.
What
Bro.
Jesus
They ate
eat?
chicken in the Bible.
What did Jesus
The
eat?
Bible.
What did Jesus eat?
The Bible is not.
What did Jesus
It
eat?
does not say you can't eat meat. Bro.
What did Jesus
It's not
eat?
in there.
What
bro.
did Jesus eat?
Bro, I can't tell you all Jesus' meals.
Fish.
But for when you say to me that the Bible tells you not to eat meat, it's just not true.
I'm telling you about Jesus now. Okay, you can
It's
stick
not
to that.
true.
You can stick to that one little argument.
Jesus didn't tell you not to eat meat.
Yes,
bro.
he did.
What's the scripture?
Again, I wasn't prepared to be interviewing for myself. I came prepared to talk about 4 topics. That one I didn't know. You tricked me, and I didn't come prepared. But if I need to go in and Siri knows all. I say, hey Siri, what's the scripture when Jesus told us to be vegetarians? The Bible says about veganism, right? That's one thing about the AI. We ain't gonna talk about AI today. The Bible says God of creation, and that's why it wasn't no meat in the Garden of Eden. It wasn't no meat in there. Eat these fruits and these vegetables, man. But anyway,
Right, because you can't find the scripture that tells you to be vegan.
not today I can't, but the next time I get invited, I will have that scripture. Now you want me to stop and look it up right now in the middle of the thing? Nah, I'm rolling.
So, but anyway, yes. So I mean, that's why these alternatives are coming. The thing is, I don't ascribe any kind of bad faith on anybody's part for bringing these alternatives to market. They're there to be an alternative. Nobody's making you eat them. Nobody's going to make you spend your money on them. And they even tend to be sometimes twice as expensive as regular meat anyway. So, but nobody's forcing you to buy them. And I don't see a future where you're going to see governments legislating that you purchase this meat. I don't see that future. It's no different than having multiple types of cornflakes. There's going to be multiple options that you can choose from. You can choose to go down that rabbit hole if you want, or you can stick with the traditional stuff. But I do think it would be interesting to see, because even with the Italy bill, that hasn't been passed and it's not a law. It's an idea right now. There's still other things.
They got one more thing they got to do
to make it a law. So it'd be interesting to see, number one, if it actually truly becomes one.
But the thing is, they got to,
and then how other countries begin to respond as well. Because alternative meats aren't really, the idea isn't going anywhere. The idea is only expanding.
It's been in America for years with tilapia.
There are more and more people who are looking at the idea, because it's like anything. Now that they see there's a demand for it, there are multiple companies, multiple people.
There's no demand for it, though.
There is a demand for it. That's why they're building multi-billion-dollar companies.
Where did demand come from?
Because there's demand for it.
Who's demanding it?
The same people who don't want to, who are vegans.
Ain't no vegans demanding that stuff, man. Stop lying to yourself.
The vegan market.
Nobody's demanding this stuff.
The vegan market.
They are lying
one of
to
the
you.
biggest markets for.
Oh, no, there's not.
And Impossible Meat.
No, I'm sorry.
That's why most of the investors of them, or at least some of the investors, are vegan.
Okay.
Because they want alternative sources.
So what do these stats say?
What stats?
That's what I'm saying.
They're multi-billion-dollar companies. How much money do they need to make before you believe they're making money?
What is money? Just because they tell it to you on the news, that don't mean that it's real. I can tell you
what.
I can tell you that cat meat is the best thing
They're
smoking.
on the stock market too, so that their numbers are validated. What are you talking about, bro?
That vegan meat is is a demand for vegan fake chemical.
You don't become a multi-billion-dollar company.
What's this company name?
Impossible. And Beyond. That don't become multi-billion-dollar companies if there's not a demand, bro.
How many people you know of personally that has gone to Burger King and got it Beyond, bro?
I only know one person who's vegan, and that vegan person has done that multiple times.
Because there's no other option, is what you're saying?
Sometimes, depending on what time it is, yeah, there is no other option.
And before that, before the Beyond Burger came out 4 years ago, what did they do?
Who, this person?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they haven't been vegan that long.
Now that it's a Beyond Burger, I'm gonna go Okay, well, yeah, then you know what?
But there's clearly a demand because they wouldn't be a multi-billion-dollar company if it wasn't.
I mean,
There's
to that type of person, okay, I understand
there's
what you're
whole
saying.
restaurant chains now
I got you.
dedicated to that.
I got
I
you.
mean, Kevin Hart even has one
I forgot
in
about.
LA.
You know what? Because it's like
It's a demand.
it's the real woke and it's the
Slutty
fake
vegan
woke.
is built off of.
That's what I'm saying, and that ain't real. And I be forgetting that the people who eat slutty vegan ain't real vegans. Like they the people who do that ain't the real. So that's why I be forgetting they exist. And that's like you know what? You're right. It's a market for the fake stuff. Got a market to the fake people. So I understand what you're saying. I didn't even think about it. I'm thinking like right. You know what? No, it's real. No, and it's like no. What about the people who be acting like they real, but they really not real? It's like oh, I forgot about them. You're right about that. Yeah, 1 foot in, 1 foot out type people. And now it's like, oh yeah, I really I'm not that person. I'm in or I'm out. I ain't and then So yeah, for those people, yeah, you're right about that. They do got a big market because they don't know no better.
They don't know no better.
Of course they're gonna spend their money and feel like, you know what, I'm eating healthy because they don't know no better. Of course, I'm gonna just and I get it. They spending a little bit more because they think they're doing something, but they really not. They're not doing nothing
No,
but
what it
hurting
is
themselves more.
they see it as an alternative.
But it's not.
It is an alternative.
I mean,
because quite frankly, number one, nobody believes that it's meat. Everybody who eats it understands that it's not meat.
What is it?
And everybody who eats it understands that whatever they're putting in there is generally plant-based.
No, it's not though.
So,
it's chemicals.
So from that perspective, they're educated and okay with whatever they're eating.
They're
no different than
no
different than the person who goes to McDonald's and eats McDonald's. They're the same.
That's why I asked you about them nuggets because
they're the same.
We all know that ain't chicken.
You know what's and whatever fast food restaurant.
Open up that fillet of fish. That ain't fish.
Understands what they're getting into. No different than
until you learn. And when you learn that tilapia is lab grown and fake, then you learn. Okay, I just ain't gonna eat tilapia though.
There are those, but tilapia is still a very popular food.
To them who didn't know that it was fake, because a lot of people don't know that tilapia is not a real fish.
Don't care.
Like I said, I worry about them. Like, how don't you care? Like, what?
Them who also don't care. I mean,
boy, that's when that Harriet Tubman come out. Boy, I gotta go and kill.
I mean, honestly, even if you look at the market, one of the fastest growing market right now is the vegan market. That is a very fast growing market.
It's a fad.
Fast growing market.
Fad.
We shall see.
Fake vegans. They're gonna just do anything to say
we shall see.
I'm vegan.
It is a fast growing. That's why you even see it. There's a lot of people looking to build brands within that market.
I agree because they see it so I can make some money off these dumb people. Like Cheerios been doing it for years. Low cholesterol, we're gonna put that big, but the rest of the stuff we're gonna make that small. They've been doing the marketing like that for years.
I'm not gonna refer to them as being dummies. They're alternatives, no different than anything else you eat. There's alternatives for healthy burgers. There's alternatives for healthy steaks. There's an alternative because even fast food is still fast food, regardless of where you buy it from, regardless of whether it's vegan. It's still fast food. And so no different than eating McDonald's, some of that stuff you don't want to eat every day. It's just not meant to do that. But the people aren't fools. I think that is a fallacy to the utmost to call them fools.
You are entitled to your opinion, and I respect your opinion to the fools. But fool me once, and then once I know, I'm not gonna let you. If you fool me twice, then it's really on me though.
That's my guy. We're gonna wrap it up right here, man. So, man, I appreciate you coming, bro. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. This is what we do when we get together with my guy here, Mr. Micah King. Or Micah King, or Micah King, right? All of those apply, right?
They used to call me the Mac.
We did used to call you the Mac. The D-A-M-A-K. It's right, we sure did, but Unmoved mover. That's my guy.
Mhm.
So, man, I appreciate you for joining me. I appreciate y'all for listening. Please go like and subscribe to the channel, man. Once again, thank y'all for listening. I'm your guy. You got something you want to share real quick?
No, I was saying just put my my email, my Instagram handle right here. Follow me on Instagram.
Follow this guy on Instagram as well. Man, I am your guy, B period, man. And I am out, man. Thank y'all.